So something I want to start off by saying is that I know you probably felt like there wasn't enough room here. On your actual quiz, you will get this much space. You will have more space. There's the same amount of questions, but I extended it to make it into a third page, okay? So you'll have enough space. All right, so here's what I would do. First thing I would do is I would take this, which is what I did, and I'm going to graph it. And I can go, okay, well, let's see what they already told me. So if I look, I can go menu, actions, oops, just kidding, trace, graph trace, and let's see. Okay, they told me the y-intercept. So now I know the y-intercept is 0, 8. No excuse not to get that wrong. Then I look here, oh, the x-intercept is a decimal. So if it's a decimal, that means I'm probably not going to be able to just do some factoring. And then I come down here. And it tells me the vertex and that it's a minimum. And if I know that, that means I know this is -2, -4. And I know this is x equals -2. And I also know the end behavior. As x approaches -infinity, f of x approaches. As x approaches +infinity, f of x approaches. Which way is this thing going? Up? Okay, +infinity. Domain, the domain of all of them is all real numbers. -infinity to +infinity. Y is greater than or equal to. Okay, sorry. So y is greater than. Well, it's always greater than the y value of the vertex. Look at all the stuff I'm getting from the vertex. So that means I know now it's -4 bracket to +infinity. Look how many things I've got. Oh, I also know that since that's a positive, it's going up. So now I did quote all this work. Now I need to actually show something for it. Oh, and I could still do the intervals as well, because this is -infinity, +infinity, and this is +infinity, +infinity, and the vertex is -2, -4. And I know the intervals have to do with the x. So -infinity to -2, and it's going down, decrease, and then -2 to +infinity, and it's going up, increase. All right, let me show some work. The y-intercept, I can't just do that in my head, so I'm going to show some work by plugging in a 0 there. So I'm going to go 3 times 0 plus 2 squared minus 4. 0 plus 2 is 2 squared, which is 4 times 3 minus 4. 3 times 4 is 12, minus 4 is 8. Now I have shown that I actually got the 8 legitimately. I bet you would agree the vertex. There's my work for that one. Now what I want you to get is when you look at the previous page, the vertex wasn't easy for me to get. The y-intercept was easy for me to get, and the vertex had some work. But this case, the vertex was easy to get, and the y-intercept was some work. But either way, that pesky x-intercept is going to be the most difficult. Okay? So as difficult as it is, let me tell you, on this quiz, it's not going to, or on this review, it won't be that difficult on your actual quiz. All right? So I set this equal to 0, and I get 0 equals 3, x plus 2 squared minus 4. How do I solve? Add 4, add 4. 4 equals 3, x plus 2 squared. Divide by 3. 4/3 equals x plus 2 squared, square root. X plus 2 equals, the square root of 4 is 2. The square root of 3, I don't know it, square root of 3, plus or minus. Remember though, 2 over rad 3 is 2 rad 3 over 3. So really, I'm going to move this over here. So this is really x plus 2 equals plus or minus 2 rad 3 over 3, minus 2, x equals a -2 plus or minus 2 rad 3 over 3. Now, how do I know that this is going to match what the graph is? So let's go back to, oops, it is in menu trace, graph trace. So if you look, I should get as one of my answers -0.845. So -0.845. And then for my other answer, I should get -3.15. Okay? So Let's make sure, and let's do it in my calculator. So I'm going to go to calculate, and I can do it in this calculator or I could do it in the other one. But since I'm already here, I might as well. So control divide, negative, oops, sorry. Try this again, -2 plus. Now you can't put them in at the same time. So in your calculator, you have to do this. And then do this one separate. Okay. So I got plus 2 square root of 3. Okay. Oops. I got to do this again because I didn't. Here, let me do this. Sorry. -2 plus, and let me delete that. And then over 3, -0.4. So I want to show you, I did everything perfect until this step right here. It's -2 plus or minus 2 rad 3 over 3. Man, those little details. So what was happening is I was plugging it into the calculator and realizing that I wasn't getting the right answer, and that's because I wrote it incorrectly. That's the nice thing about having it on the graph, is I can check. So let's try this again. -2 plus, control divide, 2 rad 3 over 3. Boom, that -0.845 matches that one now. Okay, so now I can come over here and show that even though I copied it off the graph, I showed the work. -0.8485, comma 0, and -3.15, comma 0. Okay, let's go down to here. Let's go to our solves. So I'm going to set it equal to 0. And I notice they both have an x. 5xx, -5, 5x, 5, 5x, x, 5x, x minus 5. If I set 5x equal to 0, divide by 5, x equals 0. If I set this equal to 0, I get 5. How do I know I'm right? 5 squared is 25, times 5 is 125. 25 times 5 is 125. 125 minus 125, 0. That one's good. Anything times 0 is 0, minus anything times 0 is 0. I'm good to go. This one, I could actually solve this 2 different ways. So I'm going to show you both ways, but you only need to do one. First way is factoring. Set it equal to 0. Factor. Actually, you can do it 3 ways. X equals 6. X equals -2. You could also solve it by completing the square. Do your little box. X squared, split it. -2 times -2 is 4, plus 4, plus 4. Now, x minus 2 squared equals 16, square root. X minus 2 equals plus or minus 4, add 2. 2 plus 4, 6. 2 minus 4, -2. You can even do the quadratic formula, whatever you want. Let's go to the next one. So this one I would also solve by completing the square. However, I could also do it by the quadratic formula. Now I'm actually going to do it by the quadratic formula this time because I already showed an example of completing the square. So I would go A equals 1, B equals 10, C equals -1. Negative B plus or minus the square root of B squared minus 4 times A times C, all divided by 2 times A. So I'm going to take care of this first. The square root of 100. 4 times 1 times -1 is 4. A negative and a negative make a positive. Square root of 104. So it's -10 plus or minus the square root of 104 over 2. I'm going to tree that. 2 and 52, 2 and 26, 2 and 13. There's my double. -10 plus or minus 2 rad 26 over 2. Divide everything by 2. X equals -5 plus or minus rad 26. You give me that, you're great. You want to get bonus, plug into the calculator, -5 plus the square root of 26. X equals 0.10 and -5 minus the square root of 26. and you get negative x equals negative 10, 10. Okay? All right, last one. I have no choice, but I have to solve this by the quadratic formula. Negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus a times c all over 2 times a. Take care of this first. The square root of 1, 4 times 3 is 12, plus 3, or times 3 is 36. So I get the square root of 37. There's nothing I can do with that. X equals negative 1 plus or minus that over 6. I can't simplify. Want to get bonus? Plug it into the calculator. That's your review.